setting ourselves apart or defining women as being the other. This is about offering an opportunity for everyone to see that there are talented women working in games here in the Midwest, and that we can hope to raise our voices to show that we are here, to show that everyone is welcomed and encouraged to join us in the industry. Our panelists are going to be encouraged to feed off of each other's discussion and to talk freely and honestly about our work in the game industry, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A for everyone. So to start off, we're going to start with introductions. So I'm going to ask everybody to briefly introduce yourself and your work in the game industry. So I will start out. My name is Carol Mertz. I am one of the organizers of Pixel Pop Festival. I am also a partner at Happy Badger Studio, and I am the chair of the St. Louis IGDA chapter here in, that's the International Game Developers Association chapter. I'm sorry, I've had a lot of coffee today. I'm like running at like full steam and I'm about to crash. So I've published about 6 or 7 games at this point since 2010. Most recently I designed a game called Cosmic Kitty Pop, which is out for literally it's about cats exploding in space. It's pretty great. So that's out for iOS, Android, and Kindle Fire right now. I'm working on a card game as we speak that should be releasing sometime in 2015.
Hi, my name's Jenny Gibbons. I run a little studio called Woodsy Studio. It's mainly just me, but I get some other people to contribute. I try and get people to contribute a lot and hire people when I can. But mostly I've been doing everything myself. And so I've published 2 interactive novels, aka visual novels. And my first one was Seraphina's Saga, and it did surprisingly well on Google Play. And so that was really encouraging to me because I just thought I'd put something out there and kind of see what happened. So I recently published my second interactive novel, called Quantum Conscience, and it's still kind of in the baby stages of its release, like not a whole lot of people know it exists yet, but I'm working on publicizing it, that sort of thing. And I've also just been a part of the community here in St. Louis, the game community, for about a year now, and really enjoying that, going to game jams and that sort of thing.
Hi, I'm Elspeth Eastman. I'm a voice actress, composer, gamer, Twitch streamer, YouTuber, anything that has to do with like video and audio or anything on the internet, I'll do it. I have done it. I love playing games, huge gamer. That's mostly why I started doing what I was doing, because I've always loved music, loved the music in games, and the audio. And voice acting is actually pretty recent, but it's been a lot of fun so far. I've done work for Guns Vickers Online. I've done a game called Crypt of the Necrodancer. I've also done singing in the new rehash of Killer Instinct for the Xbox One, and there's other stuff that I'm forgetting that's back there. I'm slowly remembering it, but a lot of other stuff that's been really cool, and a lot of awesome things on the horizon as well. I'm actually an Indiana native, so we drove down here yesterday. Yeah, Indiana! What up, Hoosiers? So we're from Indianapolis. And it was, St. Louis has been awesome so far. I'm blown away by the amount of community in gaming, and Carol's awesome, Jenny's awesome, and everybody's awesome so far. I'm just pretty much like, overwhelmed, but it's a good time. So that's who I am.
Hi, my name is Tracy Butler. I have been working in the game industry since pretty much right out of high school. I landed there accidentally, but found that I really quite enjoyed it. I've worked on everything from text-based RPGs, doing illustration work, to doing 3D animation for MMOs, to mobile games, to cartoony artwork for little Facebook games and things of that nature. And it's been quite an adventure. In my free time, I do comic art and writing.
Awesome. So Tracy, I'm going to start with you. What drew you to the games industry? You said it was kind of accidental, but what actually was that?
Stumbled my way in. I was in school for biology, very briefly, because I had one of those families that thought that art was not a viable career option. They had that kind of like starving artist image in their head, I think, and so even though art was my lifelong passion, I did not go to study art. I wouldn't have had my tuition help from my parents if I had done that. So even though I was studying biology, I was still producing art constantly through my lectures and things when I should have been paying attention. And I put up a website to feature my art, and a programmer here in St. Louis happened to notice the artwork, and the studio happened to be in need of a 2D artist at the time, and so he dropped me an email just on the off chance I was looking for a job, and yeah, I kind of latched onto that like a rabid dog and went for it. So, yeah.
So Elspeth, what brought you into the industry?
Well, the actual industry itself, like I've been gaming, I've really loved gaming for a really long time, since I was like 5 or something. I think I was playing Duck Hunt and accidentally played Super Mario Brothers, and I was like, what is this? What have I been missing? So I was actually, it was on a whim, really. It was like 2011, and I looked up places to go for gaming and where to meet people, where to network, and I found the Game Developers Conference, which is out in San Francisco, California. And at the time, I was also part of the Independent Game Developers Association, the Indianapolis chapter. And so I was like, well, you know what, I might as well do this. So I just, boom, purchased a ticket, got the airplane thing settled out, and I just went out there, and it was amazing. All these people, it was huge, 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 and so many people that you can meet out there that are, you know, just as passionate as you are. And I went to like the audio track where you meet all these different people in audio, and I was like, these are my people. I feel like I found like a home. And so from there, it really just kind of took off, you know, meeting different people and really, you know, sharing gaming experiences. I don't know, it kind of made me a little emotional. I was like, I can't believe this is actually real right now. But it was super fun. So that's really how I got into it, was just going for it, just, you know, jumping in with both feet, not looking back. So.
Heck yeah. Jenny, how about you?
So for me, it's kind of funny because sometimes I wonder why I didn't get into the game industry sooner. Because before all that, I tried Hollywood, and I was working. Actually, I worked on a TV show for about 2 years, and I still remember how I had like Castlevania artwork and all this video game artwork on my wall. And I've always been, always enjoyed games, and people would often encourage me to like get into the game industry, especially when I decided to leave Hollywood. So I often just ask myself why I didn't sooner, because I just love so many aspects of making games. I love how, you know, I'm somebody who likes to do a lot of different skills, like both writing and artwork, and I even enjoy some programming. And I love how games really embrace, like, learn as much as you can. You know, it's not like, I don't feel like I have to define myself all the time by one role or specializing in something. It's like the more I learn, the better, you know. You just keep growing, you keep learning. So I like that about the environment of making games, and the community is just fantastic. I mean, I think that's such a big part of it. And Hollywood, I never felt like I fit in at Hollywood. I was constantly struggling in Los Angeles, just, you know, networking, just all the bullshit you have to deal with.
Schmoozing, I think is the proper term.
And it was amazing when I like went to my first game jam and was just amazed at how like friendly and supportive everyone was. And you know, it's okay to be a little socially awkward. Everybody's a little socially awkward, like introverted, but you like to have fun. It's just I really feel like I fit in with other gamers, and I've never felt that before. So
yeah,
so lots of reasons.
Yeah.
You know.
So I was actually brought into the game industry almost similarly to you, Elspeth. I started out as a gamer as a kid, and was obviously like, you know, super into like Nintendo and Mario and stuff like that, and wound up following a web development path. And so I went to college for interactive media and animation. Actually, I really liked art at that time and still do. But in college, I actually was working for this little startup where it was just basically me and my friends, and we were all nerds, and we saw that Shigeru Miyamoto was giving the keynote at GDC, and so we're like, how can we get our company to send us to GDC? And we did. Like, I kid you not, they had no idea why. Like, they just like footed the bill for us to go to San Francisco and go to GDC. So that was really my first dose of the games industry, was complete immersion. Like, and so, you know, like we got to, I met Reggie, you know, like you got to like walk around and like read all of his game, behemoths, and it's just like so eye-opening, because when you're at an event like that, you realize how amazing the community is here. So if you guys are familiar with the St. Louis or the Midwest communities and how tight-knit it is, it's like that globally. You just have to meet the people, and like everybody's so open and welcoming, and like the games industry was just so amazing. So I knew in 2007 that I'm like, this is pretty much where I want to be. You know, like when, you know, down the road, like this is perfect. So, and then, you know, in 2010 is actually when we started our games company. So it took a little while, but we're here now, and that's where I am. It's Happy Badger Studio. So I kind of like to talk a little bit more, like, you kind of mentioned why you like games. I'd like to kind of, and anybody can jump in, but like what is it about the games industry that really like is more exciting than where you would be otherwise at this point? Like, why are you still here, basically?
Can I go?
Yeah, go for it.
It's spontaneous, and you never know what's coming.
Yeah.
You have absolutely no idea, but you're always excited for it, because someone could make something amazing and just bring you into that world. Like, hey, I'm making this really awesome game, you definitely have to be a part of it. Or, hey, I'm setting up Pixel Pop, and we want you to be a part of this. So it's always changing. You know, the game industry is one of the most, I mean, it just continually evolves. And to be a part of that is really something special, because everyone's really excited to be there. And it's I don't know, I think I want to stay here, you know, I want to stay here for like the rest of my days. That's awesome.
Yeah, kind of building off of that, I think there's something about creating games in games in general, that they're so alive. Like, I don't know how else to say that. They're changing, like they surprise you. So even your own creation seems to like take a different form when you see somebody play it. So like with my interactive stories, I remember, you know, they're just like a certain number of branches in the plot and everything, but I would watch my friend play it, and she would make these kind of weird decisions and get this like weird combination, which I kind of accounted for, but not completely.
Unexpected.
But yeah, it was just like, okay, I guess I need to write another plot branch for that, because you're constantly seeing people take what you've created and kind of make something new with it. So I feel like that's something that's so much fun about making games, you know, as a creator or as a player who's playing them, you know.
Choosing a
A certain amount of creative fulfillment comes out of it for me. Actually, that's really, I think, the key thing that keeps me here is like the starting out with a bunch of people and this pile of ideas in a meeting room, and then like several meetings and weeks later you got this playable demo and this thing that just came together so fast and everybody's so excited about it at that point. And suddenly you have this thing that you can actually play that just came from a bunch of talk and ideas and writing on whiteboards. And so that's like just like the most gratifying aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love getting to actually watch other people make something or play something that you've been spending so much time making,
Yeah.
and reacting to it.
Yes,
right? Like seeing someone having fun.
Right. Yeah, so we made a game called One Epic Night that was just like the most fun part of the game turned out to be the part where you die. Because we had these ragdoll things, and just like the way the levels were set up, you would just bounce off of them and die in these spectacular ways.
I remember that. It was
we
amazing.
actually had some great voice acting in there coming from over there that really highlighted that sort of thing, and just watching like even the different developers on the team would bring their kids in and play it, and they would just laugh their butts off about it, and it was just, you know, the most fun thing to watch and see.
Yeah, absolutely. So some statistics. It was recently revealed that adult women have actually overtaken teenage boys as like the largest gaming demographic right now. So how? I mean, yeah, that's kind of cool. So so women, like I said, it's pretty much a 50-50 split right now between women and men in the games industry, and there are more adult women than teenage men playing games right now. What about that? Do you see that changing the landscape of gaming in the future, and in what ways do you see the game industry kind of following that trend and things like that?
I think part of the problem we have right now with like every area of the entertainment industry is that women are kind of underrepresented not only in the development side, but also when you're part of the audience and you're not seeing yourself there, it kind of maybe dissuades you from pursuing that as a career. And so it kind of like you see some like reflection of yourself in a character or something, and you say, well, I want to make something like this where other people can relate to this kind of character that's just like, you know, a little bit me maybe. And I think that hopefully when there's more audience that gets catered to by the developers, then that'll just bring more and more women in. I think it's kind of like 5 years ago, it was only 11% of the development side of games was women, and so it's actually a huge step to go from 11 to 22% in a matter of 5 years. So hopefully that trend will continue, but I have guarded optimism about it because there's kind of a similar issue with, like, if you're familiar with the Bechdel test with film and everything, where women are a huge part of the audience, obviously, for movies, but you can't say that more men watch movies than women do. I would say it's probably parity is probably what we'll expect it there, but still women only are maybe 33% of the speaking roles in films. And so hopefully that is not going to be the case for games, but I suppose time will tell.
Yeah, I totally, like, 100% agree with you on, you know, not seeing yourself represented. And for me, it wasn't necessarily about seeing, like, a character or anything in games. It was actually, I actually went into games wanting to be a composer, which is still working out, but at the time, I was like, where are all the women composing for games? I mean, I can only, at the time, I only knew two, and everybody else, it was totally all dudes, and I was just like, all right, okay, I see what's going on here. So I went to this panel, and it was just composer panel. But then they had a separate panel. They had a separate panel especially for women, because it was just so strange to me at the time, because I was like, well, wait, why are they doing it as a composer panel with all dudes? And then it's like they're separating the women, saying, well, this is here, the females belong with each other, you know, and not necessarily integrating that. So that's where I was like, this is troubling. We need to kind of work on this, you know, to make sure that everybody is included somehow. And it just kind of fueled me even more. I was like, well, I'm going to do this now, obviously. I have to, you know, represent women. But really, it's all about, you know, including everybody and just making sure that everybody, they have role models, you know, because you need people to look up to. You need mentors when you're just starting out. And for me, I was like really trying to grasp onto these two women. I was like, please guide me into your world. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you on finding people to follow.
Yeah, there was actually recently a BAFTA survey that was done. It was a career survey for youth. And it showed that only 9% of 16 to 24-year-old females considered a career in games, whereas 38% of 16 to 24-year-old males had considered a career in games. And the biggest difference was that the girls were put off because they didn't see role models they identified with, and they were put off by expectations from parents, peers, and teachers. So if we can kind of change that approach, offer some points of, you know, role models, some support from educators and things, I think we'll see a big change.
Yeah, there has been a long time perception that it's a boys thing, but growing up, all of the friends I had who were girls were Nintendo players.
Exactly.
They were totally into Zelda games and things of that nature, and I was too. And so when my brother was actually given, every Christmas he would get the new game console, and I would be totally irate that I hadn't gotten it. Like, why? Because all of my relatives thought, well, this is a boys thing.
Right.
But I think as that generation kind of goes into, you know, the retirement home phase or anything, and we become parents, then that will start encouraging, and we realize that games are not just the space of, you know, male audience, that, you know, it belongs to women too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sort of will kind of fall by the wayside. That's, I think, a generational thing in large part.
Yeah. And I don't have too much to add. But yeah, because sometimes I wonder, like, you know, why did it take me so long to even attempt to become a part of the games industry? And it might have been kind of a subconscious, just not taking that seriously as an option for myself, just because I don't see other women I know pursuing that route. So yeah, I think just the more women are willing to keep pushing their way in and see themselves represented. And I also just feel like, just like with any group, you know, the more you diversify any form of art, you know, the more cool variety you're going to get.
Absolutely.
Interesting perspectives. You know, maybe we can see more types of games. You know, I hate to categorize like, oh, this is a girls' game versus a guys' game, because it really does blend a lot, but you can still get maybe games that cater a little
you can
more to
definitely see, yeah, that like influence, like, well,
the
someone
female
probably
audience.
did this, that was not right.
Right.
My parents, we were actually super homeschooled, my sister and I, so we so we were homeschooled, and when we were done with our curriculum, I'd be like, Nintendo 64 time. So we would be able, and my parents actually really encouraged that. My parents were super awesome. So they would, they'd say, well, you know, as soon as you finish your math and all this other yada yada, you can definitely go play, you know, Ocarina of Time. I'd be like, sweet. So I put so much time into gaming as a kid, and that really just continued through to adulthood. And whenever I would have a problem, like, you know, well, I knew I wanted to do gaming, and I wanted to be in the game industry since I was really, really little, but, you know, whenever I'd have a problem, I'd be like, well, this is really weird, you know, because it's kind of intimidating with all these guys. And my dad actually had an article one time, it was like when I was younger, and he was like, well, it looks like there's a lot more guys in this field. And I was like, yeah, there's you know, I think it's a really low percentage. And he was just like, what? Now you have to do this. so they were always super, super cool and really supportive, and, you know, love mom and dad. So, good times.
I mean, speaking also, we were kind of talking about like providing role models and providing points of opportunity for women to even see themselves in the game. You just did voice work for Time Spinner, is that right?
Yeah, that's
so,
the one I forgot about.
So,
Time Spinner.
Yeah, Time Spinner is like a Metroidvania game with a female lead, where it's not like gender specific or exclusive.
She's not like sexualized or anything like that. No, she doesn't have like giant cleavage hanging out or whatever. Which is fine. You can totally do that if you want. It's just this particular character is more focused on like getting revenge for her family, and she's like traveling through time. It's legit.
Yeah, cool. So the last big question that I want to kind of, you know, have us kind of discuss a little bit before we open up to Q&A is, what sort of advice would you give young women who are interested in getting into the industry? You know, like we've talked about the fact that we don't see a lot of role models yet, and we don't see a lot of, you know, like we talk about the games industry as being a boys' club, so people are going to think it's a boys' club. How can we kind of encourage other young women or other hobbyists or aspiring game developers to come to our side, you know, like join us, because, you know, I think that's important.
Be open and talk about it. Start a blog or something. Just be like present on the internet as someone who works in games, and maybe don't. I mean, so much of what we hear about in games and relating to women right now in the media is relating to like the horror stories that go on around Anita Sarkeesian's videos and Zoe Quinn and things of that nature, where the impression I think people may be left with is that it's just a totally feminist place for women to try to enter into, which is really not my experience at all. I don't think any of the women in games who work in games would say that either. They've had mostly positive experiences there, and so if there can be at least that kind of presence open to the public, open to people who may be interested in joining the game industry, they can see that it's not all the sensationalized like drama of what the media covers. Yeah. Not that I mean it's terribly important, I think, to point out the problems that like Anita's videos do and things of that nature, but it's really the violence around it that gets the coverage, and so I worry that girls may be put off by that, saying, you know, kind of get the impression that if they did pursue a career in games, it would be just fraught with this, you know, totally misogynistic, like, obstacle course and terrible things happening to you. Yeah, that's really not the case. So if you just are there making that clear, that's
I would
like this
it would definitely help. I mean, to piggyback off of that, you said make your presence known in the industry. Absolutely. I started a YouTube channel, and one thing I can definitely say that if you ever put yourself out there, stay away from the comment section as much as possible, because don't read the comments. I mean, it's pretty much like, you know, even I will read the comments, and I'll just be like, oh my gosh, I must have done this wrong. I'm like a fat whore who can't speak into the microphone correctly. Oh my gosh, this must be terrible. But it's totally not something that you should take personally, because think about the people who are typing this behind their computers, you know, just take that into consideration for a second. They are not doing what you do, and they are still watching you. They are watching you do it. So it is working, whatever you're doing. Keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Persist and you will succeed. If you want to work in the games industry, just do it. Anybody, really, not just women, anybody who wants to do it, go for it. I say just keep going. You have a support system. If you really want to look up women in gaming on Google, just Google it and start emailing women who are, veterans of the industry. And they will have awesome advice for you. They will always have awesome advice and be like, yes, do it, don't hesitate.
I think it's Phoenix Perry is a game developer who we met at GDC before, and she's really cool and really supportive of women. She's actually made this list of hundreds of names of female game developers that you can reach out to and contact. It's all of our contact information, everything where you can see the work that we've done, and it's just really great seeing that there is a support structure being built by people who are passionate about making it more of a welcoming space.
Yeah. As far as advice, I feel like there's a very delicate balance between being aware of a problem, but then not expecting it. So you need to be aware that you might face some prejudice, from time to time. Hopefully of a very small nature. The only thing I've really encountered is people tend to assume, when I say I'm an artist, they tend to assume that my artwork is going to be cutesy before they've seen any of my art. Just silly assumptions like that. Or I've often been asked the question, so do you play games? And I'm like, yeah. You ask that question to everybody?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's really been, you just have to be aware that you might face a little prejudice from time to time, but don't expect it. I mean, all people are, face forms of prejudice because other people tend to be judgmental, and if they're insecure, they will find some way of taking it out on you. Yeah. So, expect more of people, and don't give that, those assumptions or fears any power over you. And for me, it's different for everybody. For me, knowing that women are such a small percentage, I have kind of your reaction or your dad's reaction where I'm just like, well, geez, I need to stick around doing this because obviously more girls
put yourself
doing
in the middle of it. Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of inspiring.
Yeah.
Develop a thick skin. Develop a thick skin, but be yourself. It's really, there are so many different kinds of people that you are going to meet, and every one of them is going to be unique, and they're going to have their own backstory. So just bring yourself into the mix.
Yeah.
Why not?
I think my biggest point of advice would be to join the community. There are a lot of games communities around, especially around St. Louis, around the Midwest, around the country, around the world. And I think once you actually insert yourself within the community, you'll realize it's really not as scary as it seems. Because game developers are awesome people. Not to be biased or anything, but really, really rad. And I have never encountered, I've never encountered another game developer who has put me off so much that I want to not be in the industry. Gamers and commenters and stuff like that, you only need to take their opinions and their comments into consideration if it's this is a game-breaking bug and you need to fix it, please. But if they're calling you a fat whore or something, that's clearly not. They would be saying that about Tim Schafer.
They say it about everybody. I mean, yeah. They're everywhere. So
yeah. So I mean, Tim Schafer, what a fat whore, right? No. I love the guy. But so really, the biggest thing is meet other people in the industry, no matter who they are. Get to know friends, get to know some people who can support you. I mean, I see people in this room who have recently joined the community and have become an integral part of the community just within the last few months. And so it's a matter of being able to kind of take from the community what you want, which is support and education, and give to the community that same stuff, basically. And that really allows you to kind of see where your role in the games industry can be. So, did you guys have anything else to add, or should we open it up to Q&A? All right, anybody have any questions for us? Yeah.
So, a lot of the things that you're talking about, I also feel like I kind of connect to as a black person who wants to get involved in the industry. And so I often get questions, kind of similar to what I hope some of the things are coming up. And one of the big things that I
actually
think is important
just recently watched the One Reason to Be panel from GDC Europe, where Brenda Romero made a really amazing point of, it's only been in recent years where people have started calling her a female game designer, as opposed to just a game designer. So, I mean, and like, I'm sure you feel the same way, like, oh, let's bring him here because he's a black game designer. It's like, no, I'm just a damn good game designer, okay? Like, so, like I said at the beginning, like, this isn't about singling us out. It's meant to kind of, like, just show that we are, you know, we're here and we're capable. And so I think from anybody's perspective, and this goes out to any minority at all in the industry, is don't try to single people out. Try to raise their voices, try to give them an opportunity to be visible and be present.
It's discouraging when everything is always like preceded by the word woman or black or something like a woman doctor or a black game designer or something like that. It's really very the categorization I think is actually unhelpful to kind of put yourself in that, because then you just other yourself. You become like an anomaly inside of a larger group, and so it's really, you don't feel like very included in something like that.
It seems like you're our part that makes us diverse.
Right, exactly. and it's not helpful, I think, by and large. I did an interview a while back for Escapist magazine, specifically about being a woman in game development. And I think my responses to their questions were very uncontroversial. I just said, look, what matters most is that you're good at what you do and have a passion for it. It doesn't matter that you're a girl. And then they took the article and decorated it all in pink, like to say, yes, I was very discouraged and very unhappy about that. It was like, here's this, like, it's almost like labeling something as, oh, here are these women opinions that come from this monolith of women.
And we're talking about girls, right?
Yeah, so it's like this codification thing. Like, this isn't a mainstream opinion. This is an opinion of a marginalized group of people who sometimes work in the game industry as an anomaly. And so, yeah, I think not doing that and just including people who are good at this, have an interest in it, as just another game designer, not calling them a woman game designer or what have you, is really one of the solutions, I think, to this problem.
I would also add, the golden rule is just treat others as you want to be treated. I mean, if you don't think that you want to be labeled as, like let's say you have like red hair or whatever, this is our ginger game designer. If you don't want that, then definitely just treat others, with that same amount of respect that you want for yourself. I mean, it's pretty much, it's all about how secure you are as a person. And whenever someone singles you out for something that you might be a little uncomfortable with, and they're just showing you their true colors. So definitely, just treat people as, a person. Yeah, just give them the time of day and you'll be cool. So,
if in this context, what is important is that they are a game developer, a game artist, or a programmer, or whatever, call them that.
Right, yeah,
So
yeah.
don't put their like gender or whatever in front of that, as if that's like their primary definition.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in the concept of visual books. How long does that take to do?
It depends very much on your production process. So I took about 8 months to make my last one, but granted I was doing most everything myself. I had some help with art and programming here and there, and was doing like freelance work back and forth. It depends on the length of the visual novel and that sort of thing, but it's as much work as you put into it, really. Mine probably plays for about 4 or more hours, and then you can replay it a lot because there are lots of different branches.
You can also use Twine to prototype a visual novel, basically, so that allows you. Twine is a text-based, basically almost a choose-your-own-adventure creator. And you can, it's free, it's an open source tool, and it's basically like really simple markup, and you can create story paths really easily. And there's actually more advanced tools that you can use to make it kind of interactive and respond to variables and things like that. And so you can, and that's actually, I'm currently writing a game that I want to turn into an adventure game, but I'm prototyping the story in Twine. It makes it really easy to be able to see those those story branches, and kind of like visualize that as you play it out and you read it. And that might help speed up the process, and then you can throw in the other data.
Yeah, Twine is great for visualizing the branches.
I love Twine.
And RinPy, if you're curious, is what I use.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, looking back over the last year, what would be the favorite game that you guys have all played?
That is a good question.
Well, does it have to have been made in the last year, or just that we
Just in the last,
played?
one that you've discovered in the last
I'm
year.
really torn between, can I say two? Then I'm torn.
Yeah.
Last of Us and Journey are there's like just my favorites right now.
I really dug Kentucky Route Zero. It was really beautiful. I'm an indie game freak. Like, I look for all the weird cheap stuff on Steam that, like, all the Humble Indie bundles. Like, I already, like, the current Humble Indie bundle right now has, like, all the games that I already bought last year that I just bought again because I wanted them so badly again. So, like, Gone Home is another example. Like, that was just such an amazing experience. Like, 2 hours of just me, like, oh my god, you know, like, and then trying not to cry at the end. But that didn't work. I totally cried at the end. Spoilers! So, yeah, like basically any indie game that has come out in the last year, I've totally dug. I'm also currently playing Destiny, but I'm horrible at it.
I'll go in the second Gone Home. That was
Yeah.
really atmospherically wonderful. And I tend to go for indie horror game stuff. And I don't think Amnesia, or even not even Amnesia, A Machine for Pigs came out last year. I think it was 2013 or the end of it. But that's when I finally got around to playing it. And that sort of like total immersion in the environment, atmospheric stuff really is what I'm a sucker for. So that was neat. Survival horror.
I'm still thinking. I'm really sorry. I will. Okay. So the last game that I finished was Outlast. That was pretty terrifying. So that was a good game. But I replay a lot of games. So I think one of my I love The Last of Us. I thought it was amazing. Didn't get to play the DLC yet. But I thought that was a great one. Man, I'm really like. I know it didn't come out recently, but I replayed BioShock Infinite for like the 10th time. I think it's an amazing visual game. And also Mario Kart 8, if that counts. I love it so much.
Animal Crossing and Pokemon.
Oh my gosh, Animal Crossing! Animal Crossing is great too. Yes.
Yeah, the new Pokemon. I like sunk so much time into it. In Animal Crossing, we actually had like everybody in the office playing it. And so we'd be like, I'm gonna go to your town. I'm gonna take a 15-minute break and go to your town. Okay, open up your DS.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Street Pass was such a big thing. Like, we went to GDC and we street passed with, I broke the record. Like, there's like an achievement where like you had to street pass 100 people in one day or something like that. Totally did it. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Hi, this is specifically for Elspeth. I know you mentioned in the intro that you worked a little bit on Guns of Icarus online, one of my favorite games, and also Killer Instinct. So I love the dichotomy almost between kind of an indie Kickstarter game versus a AAA studio game.
Yeah.
What was it like working with those two completely different environments?
Okay, so I love the indie community a lot more than I love AAA. And the reason, it's true, but the reason being was because the AAA, it was Microsoft. And so the guy that I worked with, he was very structured. He had to have everything done by this certain deadline. And I was like, okay, I got you, bro. And so, you know, I record everything in my closet. I have my microphone set up and I just kind of shimmy in there and do whatever. And so he had me, rap actually for Orchid's theme. And so that's probably going to be on like the soundtrack or whatever. It didn't actually make it in game. But I also sang on Orchid's theme and screamed into the microphone for Sadira's track. And he liked them, but it was lacking the passion. It didn't seem like he enjoyed what he was doing, but he wasn't really that friendly about it. And eventually, they ended up going with someone else to like add on to the singing. So like it's me in there, but it's also mixed with someone else. And I think they made that split decision because someone put in a word somewhere or something happened. I don't know. And it wasn't clear to me. The lack of communication there, it really upset me because I was like, well, damn, I thought it was gonna be, you know, I thought it was gonna be me, but you know, we ended up going with someone else. So still in there, but it was weird. It was weird, and it felt awkward when I was talking to him on Skype, and I was just like, I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable with this. Switch over to the indie game. And I'm talking with two people. We're dropping F-bombs everywhere. I'm having a great time. Howard and Eric, the two guys that, you know, programmed Guns of Icarus, were just amazing, amazingly nice people. They loved what they were doing. And they were like, well, okay, so we want to hear what you have for the captain voice. So, you know, you got to do like a commanding thing. And I was like, okay, cool. So I just kind of did whatever. They were like, that was awesome. But they really liked what I was doing, and they didn't treat me as a client. It was really more at the end of the Skype call that we were doing. I felt like I could really just joke around with these guys like they were my friends. And I met them actually I met up with them afterwards at PAX East. And they were like, everybody, this is the voice actress that we had for Guns of Icarus. So I was like, oh man, it's cool. But they were they were just really, I don't know, we're down to earth, I guess. And they didn't have a sense like, well, we're working for Microsoft, so you have to have it done by this. But really, I don't know, the indie community is so much more welcoming and warm and friendly because they realize that you're sitting where they were before, and you know, and not too long ago. So they're very very cool community. You know, you'll have people who are, you know, you run into and you're like, okay, well, I'm not sure what you're all about, but whatever. But it's good overall. Very good feeling for the independent community. That's what I love about it.
We have time for one more question before we wrap up. Yeah.
So I think one of the bigger problems that I've noticed is, not just in the game industry, but in any industry for women, is not getting them started early enough, like grade school and high school. So I was wanting to know if there was any outlets that you know of on a high school or grade school level, or even advice that you would give a woman trying to pursue in the gaming arts.
Well, I can give this would be for people who are entering into it late. There's a whole women's programming community that's recently cropped up called Launch Coder Girl.
Yeah, I actually just filmed that event not that long ago, yeah.
Yeah, so,
and Digigirls as well.
You know, programming is power. My main skills are art, and I would like to get someone else to program for me most of the time. The more programming, you know, the more you can do, and it's going to be easier to get a job. So anyway, look into Coder Girl if you're interested in game development, and you can get hooked up with a free Harvard class for intro to programming, and just a good community of people who are learning to program.
I had a really weird kind of track record with this, but I actually made a blog about this guy named Aaron Marks. He's absolutely amazing. He's out in California. He's a sound designer. He's been doing this for a really freaking long time. But I put out a blog. I was writing a blog about game audio. And he actually had his Ferrari on his homepage. He was like, this is my Ferrari, and I use it to record sound effects. I was like, that is so unprofessional. I can't believe that someone actually put their Ferrari on their homepage. And I was just bashing him. And so he emails me, and he's like, I like this blog. It was very well thought out. I was like, ooh. He actually read my blog. But he became my mentor after that, because he took the time to notice. And I would probably just say, as soon as possible, you know, it's really good to find a mentor that you can talk to, someone who you really respect. And that's why I you know, started sending out like cold emails, just being like, yo, how'd you get into this junk? Because I want to kind of, you know, do the same thing. So the internet is obviously a great resource, but there's also IGDA, which is the independent. I think anybody can.
It's International Game Developers.
Yeah,
so
and International Game Developers.
As long as you're in the games industry, you're welcome.
Yeah, I think pretty much anyone is welcome to join. So it's I know you can go to like GDC. There's like a student pass that you can get. You can do like the volunteer program. And there's a lot of ways for students to reach out. I mean, anything that says student, they're like, all right, here, catering to students. So really, it's just all about research and, you know, just putting yourself out there. So
Going back to what we were saying before about putting yourself out there, completely agree that even as soon as you start working in the industry and you start being someone that other people can go to get answers to questions they have and things of that nature. I have a lot of art galleries and things online where I post comic work and things, and people know that I work in the game industry, so frequently I'll get private messages and stuff asking me like, how did you get in there, and how did you do that, and what kind of portfolio do I need, what do I need to study to get a job in this field. So I answer a lot of those questions, and that's like, I'll actually zero in on those and answer those first, because they're meaty things to answer, and they seem like an important thing to answer instead of like silly questions about this or that character or whatever I'm drawing pictures of. So I think that is something that women or even men can do as well, and just encourage anybody who comes your way, girls and boys, whatever, but as long as there's a place where they can go and kind of get the information they need to know what track they need to be on to get where they want to go. That's a great thing. And I think there's also a little bit of a cultural thing that I hope is like dissipating as years go by, but it's hard to say, but like it's the same problem I think that we see with STEM fields, where women or girls at a young age have an interest in these things like math and the hard sciences and things like that. And then at a certain point when they reach like puberty, really, it just drops off suddenly. And I think they're maybe getting the message that these are the domains of men, and you aren't really welcome here. So you should go study, arts or biology, soft sciences, or psychology or whatever. And that's more of a woman's thing, nursing and things like that. When I think in actuality they may have the chops for this or these more technical things, and if that's where their interest lies, they should go there and not just be kind of pushed in a direction they aren't necessarily interested in themselves. So that's, I think, kind of a cultural thing. It's hard to dissect out where the problem begins or really lies, but I think as we move along and the game industry becomes a much more prominent part of our culture, that will hopefully start to dissipate.
And a bit more specific opportunities. I know, I don't know much about the program, but I know that there is a program called Girls Make Games, which is basically an opportunity for young girls to learn how to make games. And like there's the Girls Who Code programs and things like that. Here in St. Louis, there's actually a school that the Happy Badgers and I just started teaching at called the Youth Learning Center, where we are actually teaching a game development class to second graders. And it's hell. Oh God. Oh, it's horrifying. It's like everything that I was afraid of. But it's an opportunity for, like, we only have one little girl in our class, but it's an opportunity for this little 8-year-old girl from an underprivileged part of town to learn how to code a game. And it's like, if there's more opportunities like that throughout the, throughout the country, throughout the world, I think we'll see a lot more girls who are, they're confident in their abilities, like they're confident, like, I learned this when I was 8, like, this is, yeah, I can make a game. Like, that's the sort of thing that we want to start seeing, I think. And so that's why we were so excited to start doing it, and that's why we endure the hell, because we know that we're kind of shaping the future of these kids, like these are, at-risk kids who, would otherwise never have the opportunity to even have a computer at home, are learning how to make games after school. Like, that's really cool. So, I'd love to see more of that kind of thing pop up. But if you have like kids in mind, I know you guys see Naomi back there. We want you to start making games, If you have kids in mind, I would see if you can find opportunities. Game jams are often, especially if you leave after before 9 o'clock or something, they're often pretty kid friendly. It's never too early to start finding mentors and finding role models in the industry.
I definitely applaud you guys to check out DigiGirls. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't,
It actually singles out girls that are like in grade school all the way up to being about 15, 16 years old, and it's about trying to get them more into the sciences, STEM specifically. They actually they held at the Science Center. It's a Microsoft event, so you should definitely look into it, because I filmed that whole thing. They have a panel and all that, and it's really awesome.
We just need to maybe fill girls with the self-confidence that they need to just go after what they really want to do and let them be career-minded at an early age and not discourage that.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Cool. So to wrap up, I'm going to give us all an opportunity to let you guys know how you can contact us after this if you have any more questions, or if you want to start, keeping tabs on us in the future. You can find me on Twitter. On my personal account is @CarolMertz. You can also find my studio, Happy Badgers Studio, on Twitter at Happy Badgers. We're also online and on Facebook at happybadgers.com. I'm also one of the organizers, so I'm going to plug the Pixel Pop Twitter. It's just Pixel Pop Fest. Also IGDA STL is the website and Twitter for IGDA here.
For me, probably the easiest way is just to go to my website, which is www.woodsy, it's woodsy-studio.com. And there are links to like my Twitter and all that good stuff on there.
Same thing with me. You can go to my website. It's elizabethEastman.com. I also I do Twitter at Elizabeth Eastman. You can also go to YouTube if you feel like watching some dumb voice videos. Rated
The
E.
Pokemon rap.
Yeah, you gotta look up Pokemon rap. It's Rated E with Elspeth at YouTube. I did like a League of Legends video too, and it's pretty dumb. So if you feel like checking it out, you can totally do that. I will respond to absolutely everybody.
Play.net is my employer. That's Simultronics, a local small developer here in St. Louis. And lackadaisy.com is my art site for my comic and kind of links off to my other web pages as well and my contact information.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for participating in this panel. We are so happy that you guys were able to come out, and I love hearing all of your guys' perspectives. And thank you all so much for coming to the panel. We really appreciate your guys being here. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, and feel free to shoot us, if you have any feedback or anything about the events that you're seeing today, shoot us a message through the Pixel Pop website. We'd love to hear what you think of the event.
All right, so hi, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Elspeth Eastman. I am a voice actor, and composer, YouTuber. Really love audio and games, and I do this full time, so it's a good time.
Awesome. So my very first question is, what's your overall thought and idea of this whole Pixel event, Pixel Pop event?
I think it's wonderful. I think what St. Louis is doing here is making, they're building up the community, and they're actually allowing people to express themselves fully through panels, and you have all these amazing discussions that are going on, and it really brings insight to people's personal experiences with games. And I think that's really what the indie community is about, and they're doing an excellent job at representing that.
Awesome. And now this is about the moment where I ask for like plugs. Is there anything that you have in development, anything that you want to kind of express and get out there?
Well, I started doing Twitch live streaming, so I play games. Twitch.tv/ratede with Elspeth. That's also the name of my YouTube channel. So I just started playing games just for fun. It's great, and I do that as well as a lot of voice acting and music. And if people want to, they can also check out my website, which is elspethEastman.com, and that you just find everything that I'm doing.
Perfect. The very last question for you is, since this was specifically towards women in tech, was there any advice, anything at all that you want to kind of get the word out there that you didn't get a chance to talk about on the panel? Anything that would come to mind?
For like women specifically, or
women, even it could be any kind of information, any kind of knowledge or advice you want to give out there.
Well, I would say definitely study something that you feel is worth your time, either in school or college. Definitely go into gaming, go into game design, surround yourself with people who love to be around games, and surround yourself with games. Play as many games as possible so you can really understand how a game is developed, and reach out to people who are your role models or anyone that you really respect and you kind of want to follow in their footsteps is really important. So connecting with people is great.
Yeah, you actually brought up a really good point on the panel that I really liked, is finding a mentor.
Yeah.
I feel like that's crucial, in especially the arts, in any form of the arts.
Yeah.
Is finding somebody to kind of give you the back door kind of answers. They kind of let you in and let you know and get more integrated. Do you have any more to expand on that? Like, and like you were talking about doing like cold calls or like cold emails and stuff like that.
Yeah, and cold calls are very important. Emails more so,
Right.
because you're not necessarily as invasive. I would say, because when you call someone on the phone, they don't really know who you are. That can be a little awkward. Emails allow them to read it and respond if they so choose. So I would recommend just emailing anyone who you really think that can help you or give you advice. And I would also say that if you're a fan of anyone's work, if you're like a dedicated fan, definitely tell them that you respect their music or you respect what they're doing, like in game design or programming or anything like that, and do some reading material, get some books on the subject, because reading is still a thing, and I would recommend it. I would recommend an actual physical book. So, so definitely go for books if you can.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate you.